So, Sai Ram, today's subject of our regular uh, sessions of Chintan and Manthan, which is like discussion, deliberation, and understanding of different subjects, different topics. So, today's subject, which is very interesting, like all the subjects are, this is something which is very many of us can possibly, few of us for sure, can relate to. The subject is a sinner to a saint. Is it possible? Can a sinner become a saint? How do we understand the possibility? How do we understand the path? How does the world look at it? Does it really matter? What is the how the world opines? So these are a few points which we are going to discuss, deliberate, understand, and as usual move forward. So the subject is Chintan. Manthan's subject is sinner to a saint. Now, the moment this statement comes, sinner to a saint, first thing which crosses my mind is "Sau chूहे काके बिल्ली हज को भी." Right? Anybody who walks on the path of spirituality. First, we will talk about how the world is going to judge us. Transliteration is after killing and eating 100 mouses, the cat is on its way to perform Hajj, in other words, on a holy path to go to the Holy Land. That's a metaphor. But the fact is that after committing several sins, after being an indulgent person, after being, into so many things which are questionable in his life, her life, that person is on the path of spirituality. This is a mocking statement which the world makes at us, at anybody who lives a worldly life, normal life, and then who tries to walk on the path of spirituality. This is the first thing. Just to sum up how the world reacts to us. Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. But does it affect us? Yes, it does. Though it doesn't matter, it does affect. It is a very discouraging statement. So how do we handle that? To start with, you have led a very normal life. I have led a very normal life. All of us have led a very normal life. At some point of time, we want to walk on the path of spirituality, understand the divine, understand ourselves more than anything, understand the reason and the purpose why we are on earth, what is the purpose of our life. And then as you are, have a spiritual bent of mind and you start trying to understand and walk on the spiritual path. So the first thing which the world does is, under the influence of Maya, illusion, is to discourage you. Having committed so many sins and having led a debaucherous life, now this cat is on its way to go to the Holy Land. That is the statement you tend to hear, either on your face or at your back. Correct. How do you handle this? Tell yourself that at least now this cat is on its way to the Holy Land to perform the pilgrimage. चलो मैंने मान लिया, मैंने सोच हुए खा लिए. I have done all the things which everybody does. led a normal life in the worldly eyes. Okay. But at least now I have started walking on the path of spirituality. Now I have at least realized that, there is a higher goal, there is a higher self. I am on the path of finding an indwelling God. I have started walking on the path of spirituality. But the people who are commenting about it, mocking you, mockery is what you get from the world, nothing else other than the mockery. वो लोग तो अभी भी चूहे खा रहे हैं. They're still in that state of debauchery to sinful life. So we are far better off. At least we have started walking on that. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to quote anybody but myself, but this was told to me on my face. तू भैया 100 चूहे खा के हज पे चला. मैं बोला मैं 100 चूहे खाने के बाद तो कम से कम हज पे जा रहा हूँ. तू तो 1000 चूहे खा रहा भैया. तुम कब आओगे? चलो साथ में हज कर लेते. You know what I mean? So this is something which is bound to happen. It does affect us. Should it? No. Should it affect you? No. It should not. But does it affect you? Yes, it does. So how do we handle that? Laugh at them. Smile at them. Don't mock them. Because mockery is what you get in this world. Let me tell you. Particularly when you start walking on the spiritual path. People will always talk about our past, somebody's past, a seeker's past. They will never talk about what the person's divine potential is, how potentially divine that person is. They will never respect that at least this person has started walking on the spiritual path. No, they will never do that. But unfortunately, despite all this knowledge, it does adversely affect us. But at that time, you have to smile and say, "Chalo, it's okay." You keep committing the, or whatever vices of your life, you live with it. God bless you. At least I started walking now. Right? It's first thing. Now moving to the next. Is it possible? Is it possible that, somebody who's led a very, very, very questionably horrible life to walk on the path of spirituality? I think they are the most potential people to walk on the path of spirituality. Somebody who is born with a spiritual inkling, who has led a righteous life, it is very natural for that person to pursue the spiritual path. It's very easy. But for someone who is addicted to this world, who has led a questionable life, who is engrossed with this worldly life, for that person to walk on the path of spirituality there is a stronger resistance. It is not natural for him or her. So they deserve more respect. They deserve more respect than people who have led a decent life or a life which is inclined towards spirituality and self-awareness and self-realization and so on and so forth. In my firm belief, those people are to be kept in a higher pedestal than the people who are already spiritually inclined, because they have realized this is not it. This is not the way. This is not the path. This is not the life that I have to live. And they have given up. Very difficult. Your addictions, your patterns in life. It's very, very difficult to give up. Such a person has given up. They deserve an applause. But they get mockery. That's it. That's how the world is. So potentially divine, every soul is. Lord Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita. Sri Adi Shankaracharya has said, the purest and the indestructible soul is always potentially divine. No soul is attached to sin. Even if it is a soul of a Hitler or anyone, their souls are potentially divine. So that is what it is. Now we shall just touch a few subjects of historically the sinners who became saints. Right? Just for us to know, for everybody to know. The greatest example would be Maharshi Valmiki. Who was Maharshi Valmiki? He was a hunter. He was a thief. This is a story. People have different opinions about it. But he was a hunter. He was a thief. So as per the mythology or as per the itihasa, I wouldn't call it mythology, itihasa. Itihasa is history, divine history which is recorded as per itihasa. Maharshi Valmiki is loitering around in the jungle looking for a prey, to kill somebody, to rob somebody. That is his profession. He's a robber, he's a killer, he's a hunter. So what does he do? He's moving around. And there he encounters Narad Rishi. So Narad Rishi is walking in the jungle and Maharshi Valmiki encounters him and he is about to rob him. That is when Narad Rishi tells him, don't do this. This is not right for you. You can't do anything to me. This is what I am. There is another story which says that he encounters Saptarishis who take pity on him, whether it is Saptarishis or Narad Muni or whoever. That is incidental, that is immaterial. But so one of them encounters Valmiki. So what does he say? Don't do this. So start walking on the spiritual path. He is such a, so much engrossed with this, his profession or his pattern of life where he's killing and robbing and, such kind of a life. And Narad Muni gives him a mantra. He says, recite the name of Lord Rama. He says, recite Rama, 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 Rama. But he is so negative a person that he cannot even take Lord Rama's name. He says, I can't recite this name. Can't even recite his name. So at that point of time, Narada Muni, he says, at least you know one thing, which is to kill, which is maro, 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 maro. Right? So when somebody is killed by you, what do you say? Mara, 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 mara. So he says you recite that. That is good enough. So when Valmiki starts reciting that, he says mara, 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 mara. He goes on reciting, it becomes Rama, 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 Rama. Mara becomes Rama. So at least with that, even in that negativity, there is positivity. That is how beautifully our historic stories will explain us that every sinner has a future. Many saints have a past. Sinners have future. Saints have a past. All of us are potentially divine. We can reach the Supreme. Just because we shed one body and go into that next body and naturally in the process of karma, we evolve and evolve and evolve and progress and then start walking on the spirituality. Is that the only way? Not necessarily so. Not necessary. So that is what is the example we get out of this story. So even when Valmiki starts saying Mara, 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 that becomes Ram. So that is how potentially divine each soul is. Now another 2-3 examples very quickly we will run through just for us to understand. Second is this story of Tulsidas. Tulsidas is madly, wholly, solely in love with his wife. Some of the scriptures say that he is so addicted to that one of the Arishad Vargas, which is lust, that he can't stay away from his wife, his spouse. So what happens once Tulsidas has gone somewhere? And then during that his absence from home, his wife goes to her Maika, that is her father's house. So Tulsidas gets back home and he doesn't find his wife, and he's so upset about it that he runs to his wife's house. And it is raining and it's a thunderstorm and whatever is happening, and then he jumps into the river. There's a dead body which is floating. He thinks it is a wooden log, and he holds that and crosses the river, not even understanding that it is a dead body, and runs to his wife and goes to her. And what does she say? She says, "You're so mad. You're so lost in lust and attachment that you have come to me with so much of desire. The same amount, half of it, if you had towards God, you would have been realized by now. You would have been a realized soul. You would have been an enlightened soul." That hits Sri Tulsidas so hard. So hard that he says, "Oh my God, what an eye-opener it is." That very moment, Tulsidas gains his realization. He understands his divine duty, and he leaves his house and goes to Kashi. And what we have in our hands, Ramacharitamanasa, which is written by Tulsidas. It's a belief which is believable that Tulsidas is a reincarnation of Maharishi Valmiki himself, because Ramayana was written in Sanskrit that common men in those days could not understand. So Tulsidas comes and recites Ramacharitamanasa in Awadh language, the local dialect, so that a common man can understand. And the other most important thing, just imagine a man who is so attracted to a woman whose main weakness is lust. That man becomes a saint and writes Hanuman Chalisa. To all those people who will mock the seekers who are walking on the path of spirituality with the baggage, with what they have done, with the kind of life that they have lived, this is the answer. The biggest brahmachari in the world ever. Brahmacharya, the follower of brahmacharya as a brata. The greatest, they say, there are two. The earliest, they say, is Lord Hanuman. Second is Sri Shirdi Sainath Maharaj. Greatest brahmacharis. That is the level of brahmacharya, and that is the potential. That Hanuman Chalisa which we recite is written by that man who used to be a very lusty person, totally engrossed in the worldly life. And he sheds that, he becomes a saint, and he writes Ramacharitamanasa and Hanuman Chalisa. So that is the potential. So if somebody mocks us, just ignore. Walk your walk. Walk your walk. Keep going. Doesn't make a difference. Last final example I would give is even in Buddhism. It is about Angulimala. There was one dacoit. His name was Angulimala. He used to whenever he used to rob any of his victims, he used to chop their fingers and make a garland of it and wear it. So that is Angulimala, such a demon with a very demonic appearance. Scary guy becomes a saint after he meets Buddha, Gautama the Buddha. So he becomes a saint, he goes forward, and he is unquestionably one of the greatest Buddhist monks. So, to answer the question which we posed to ourselves, is it possible? Yes. Of course it is. If not us, who else? If not now, then when? So there is absolutely nothing to feel bad about. I know it adversely affects us when somebody mocks us. Doesn't matter. Smile, forgive them, and move on. Your Guru is always with you. Now coming to the next point of how do we travel the path of spirituality, being whatever we are, the kind of life we have led. Despite that, how do we turn towards spirituality? First thing, remember. First thing, do not carry guilt in your heart. Guilt is the biggest impediment for your spiritual progression. Biggest obstacle is your guilt. Why are you feeling guilty? It's done, it's over, forget it. Does not give you a right to commit the same sin again and again. No. Commit a sin, keep forgiving. Commit a sin, keep forgiving. No. Forgive yourself once and for all. Do not feel guilty about anything which has happened. That is the importance of initiation into a spiritual path. You are going to start a new life. There is absolutely no doubt about your progression. But your only thing which is an impediment is you feeling guilty about what you have been. No point. You can alter. I mean, there is something people believe that, जो बात बीत गई है, उसका कोई कुछ नहीं कर सकता है. मैं मानता हूँ. It's a fact. What has transpired or what has happened with us or by us or from us, you cannot do anything about. But that has karma phala. What do we do about those karma phala? That can be taken care of. How do we take care of it? By getting rid of guilt. By starting our spiritual path afresh. Relax and don't get perturbed by the mockery that you will come across. No problem. It's okay. Take it. I still remember Purandaradasa, which I narrated in the previous video. So you need criticizers. You need people who are mocking birds, just like the swines in the society, to cleanse and keep the society clean. Like that, these guys are required. Forget it. Move on. Next thing, the first and the necessity is to forgive. Forgive yourself first. Don't carry guilt. Do not carry guilt in your heart. ठीक है, हो गया. थे, we were. We did what we did. It's okay. Move on. Now at least. If not now, then when? You will wait to shed the body, take the next birth. without being aware of the consequences of your sanchita karma and the destiny in the future, what it is going to be. Behold your guru. The next thing, behold your guru, he will take care of you. Because a true guru is going to be with you now till your salvation. Once you've been embraced, taken care, accepted by your guru, till your salvation, your guru is going to stand by you. He'll not let you go. Not just this birth, birth after birth. Excuse me. So, first thing, start anytime. There is no particular time or phase of your life. Walk on the path. Ignore the mockery. How to handle the mockery? We know is to tell the person if somebody confronts you and says it on his face that at least now I've started walking. When will you? So it's okay. Move on. So that's how the spiritual progression happens. And as I gave the examples of many of these sinners who were sinners who became saints, excuse me. Every soul is potentially divine. Everybody has the potential of becoming a saint and walk on the spiritual path and attain salvation. There is no doubt about it. Now coming to the concept of forgiveness, this is something which is in our yogic path which we practice. Forgiveness is very essential. Back of your Ajna Chakra, which is caught because of the guilt, you have to forgive yourself and you have to move on in your spiritual progression. Key to everything in our life, in our spiritual path or anything and everything in our life is your Guru. Your Guru is very crucial. So don't be in a hurry, don't be jumpy. We know who's a guru, who's not a guru. Now, unfortunately, this world is so funny. I find it funny. People who walk on the spiritual path, so to say, the gurus and the guides and whatever, they start becoming sinners. We all know the kind of scandals which are going on in the world, especially by the God men. Neither they are men enough, not God for sure. So you see, jailed people, convicted for sexual abuses and things like that. So now what do? We are better off then. Now I just have to point out one beautiful thing about this, mockingbirds who mock you when they walk on this. When you walk on the spiritual path. Those people, many of them, or half of them, or most of them, they will endorse these kind of gurus who are into all sorts of adultery. I would prefer to abstain from taking the names. We all know whom I'm talking about. A guru, so-called, self-appointed. Sorry, excuse me. I've got a bad throat. I don't know. He came up with a philosophy. Sambhog se samadhi tak. You attain samadhi, which is nirvichara samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, and the samadhi, nirvana, whatever. Supreme union with the Supreme. With sexual union. Sambhog se samadhi tak. So that kind of a guru has been endorsed. Oh, he was very good. He was a fantastic orator. he was too good, he was very nice. Yes, some of the things are objectionable or questionable, but he was good. But the same people, if you start walking on any path, they'll mock you. So that's how the world is. Don't get discouraged. World is there to hold us back from our path. Please don't stop yourself. Each one of us are potentially divine, and we can start our path anytime, any phase, any stage of our lives. So this is few words about how a sinner becomes a saint. Key to this, few takeaways in bullet points, if I have to say. Don't worry with mockery. How to handle mockery is by understanding that at least you started walking and others are still sitting and mocking. No point. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. We shared so many examples of some of the greatest saints of the history. Maharishi Valmiki, Angulimala to Tulsidas. Every person can walk on the spirituality and progress. Definitely. And the most important thing for us individually, for the walk, forgive yourself. Don't hold guilt. Don't be guilty. No, it's okay. What has happened has happened. What is done has done. What is done cannot be undone. But certainly, the karma phala of what is being done can be handled, can be nullified. Because that is a prarabdha karma which is collected in this birth and you are aware of it. Sanchita karma is a gada or the pot which is filled from the previous births which you have no control over and you are not even aware of. The beauty of prarabdha which is accumulated in this birth, you can handle it. You can nullify the ill effect of the karma phala. So we can do that. The most important, finally, Guru, a true master. Behold your Guru. He'll never let you down. He'll hold you tighter. Just to give an example, Baba used to say in Shirdi, which is not part of the Satcharita, that some people used to go to Baba and there was a question asked to Baba by his intimate devotees and disciples that, Baba, that person is such a sinner. I'm talking with Kulkarni in Shirdi. He has troubled you so much, yet you forgave him and you have embraced him. You are looking after him. Why is that? He's troubled you so much, no? Baba says, I look after the children who have soiled themselves the most, who are dirty. You all are clean. You don't need my care. But that child of mine is dirty. The clothes are dirty. He's dirty. I need to give him a wash. That is the love of a master. That is the love of a guru. That is the love of Sri Saipanth Maharaj. How much he loves us. Dirtier we are, closer he is to us. Doesn't mean that we have to start getting dirty. So, what I meant to say is, that only goes on to say that everybody is potentially divine. Nobody is a sinner forever. Saints have pasts, sinners have future. So these are the few words about sinners to saints, right? If anybody has any questions, may please ask, shoot. No one? So I'm not looking at any sinners, all saints. Thank you so much. Right? Good. So, with these few words, these thoughts, we conclude this topic of sinners to saints. Take care. Sai Ram. Sai Ram.